Federica is with us as well. Thank you very much for joining us. Today the aim is to present the virtual tools as the main outcomes of the project. As you know, tomorrow will be the last day of the project. After the extension we received, we agreed with ESIA last year, due to the COVID-19 pandemic issues, and actually we are we are at the end. So this means that from now onwards, everything should, what has been done needs to be actually capitalized, as to be exploited. And for this, obviously, there is a main need also for sustainability. And support to keep it updated. And during my presentation, I will jump from the presentation. We will go, or you can also have a look to the links that are included in my presentation. So maybe I will jump from one part to the other, from the presentation to the website, in order for you to have the full description of the features and the functionalities. We have the last virtual tool that actually we planned to have it fully working by today, but actually the web designer was not able to work full time on this task. And for this, actually, we have still some parts that needed to be completed to have the full functionality. Nevertheless, you will see how it will work, and in 10 days' time, we are planning for the DBTA, Digital Business and Training Ecosystem, to have another presentation, in this case addressed to the clusters and companies that were interested based on to this tool, to evaluate with them any potential exploitation. That's all. I would like to start. Rainer, if there is any additional comment.
Not for this one. I will then later on discuss for the second part of the event today.
Rainer will contribute to the second part. Unfortunately, we had a technical issue, and actually we couldn't manage on time all the interested people to the clusters. So actually, the second part will be just delivered to us as a main target group, and then in 10 days' time, as I was mentioning, next week I'll be off for my institution, and due to my institutional role, so I cannot work anymore, at least next week on ASKFOOD. Anyway, let's start. I thank you very much, our guest. That I see here with some names that I don't recognize. So for me, it's a pleasure to welcome them. I just briefly, I just put in the, Rainer, if you can add in the chat the link to the questionnaire, because my presentation today will be, we will have a few slides, really few slides of the virtual tools. In the meantime, you can go to the virtual tool, visit it, and then we can comment. But at the same time, we launch the evaluation, which is an online form. And you can start making the comments. The questionnaire is I could say, not a fixed questionnaire. I mean, in the meaning that obviously we have not the full time to fill in all the fields you will find in the questionnaire. Maybe you will need more time to add comments, proposals, suggestions for changes, modification, contributions. And you can go further or go back to complete it later on. We will send, in any case, the link also after the end of the event of today. So, so it is easy to be managed. In the chat is already included. Yes, thank you very much, Rainer. So let's start. I will share my screen. Obviously, I will ask for sure some of you to contribute. Unfortunately, Germana that planned to be with us and also contribute to some that contributed to design, to set really some of the virtual tools is not with us, but actually she was in the back stage in all of these virtual tools. So let's start. You know already what is ASKFOOD. ASKFOOD per se is an Erasmus Plus Knowledge Alliance project that is aimed to set a permanent knowledge alliance between businesses and higher education in the food-related sectors, with aim to fill in or to match some needs in terms of, let's say, the development of skills and entrepreneurial mindset of the future generation of the current and future generation of graduates and the students, develop also new modern training and educational methodologies. But more than this, for sure, the main aim that was in the background of all the activities is the improvement of the academia, industry, and stakeholders interplay, looking at a quintuple helix innovation model. So this means that we have to take into account both the impact in our society, but also how we can address also the aspects related to our environment, our planet, let's say. So we really hope that with these activities, we can better address some of the main needs and issues of the food-related sectors. We adopted different, I mean, a multidimensional approach, because actually we addressed our activities partly to the higher education, partly to the businesses. It was a transsectoral, taking into account different also topics or areas of interest. And we try, obviously, with the limits that were posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, the basis for a networking environment. The main target of this project actually are different, diverse, but you can see here that actually all of them are included. I mean, the most important ones, taking into account that in the innovation model, academia in general and education as main mission of the academia is taken as reference or key point also to promote the innovation. Actually, last week we had the open symposium that was in the was held on the 24th in the afternoon after the Global Innovation Food Innovation Forum. And actually, what was really interesting, I don't know if any of you could attend, actually it was really interesting also to evaluate how policymakers were interested to our project as an interesting best practice, best practice with the aim to develop this new educational ecosystem for innovation and sustainability of the food value chain and systems. Briefly, obviously, we have been working rather hard to have several main products just listed here, but actually what we will have a look at now are the ones more important, and we will have a look to them later on. We try to address our activities and also the outcomes to different main target groups, like the higher education and training providers, students and trainees in general, and all the food-related businesses involving also the startups. So actually, we try to implement activities aimed to support the innovation with addressing different activities to different actors of the food system. What was relevant, I mean, we have also here some of the, we have not included here, but I included in the presentation I did in last week at the Open Symposium are the policymakers. Actually, our project for sure gave us some food for thought for different also policymakers, taking into account also the current aims of the European frameworks for projects, but also to implement the policy, the policies in the food sector, but also to launch also new projects in the future, taking into account capacity building and innovation by implementing educational activities. Let's start with the first virtual tool. The virtual tool that we start with is the Smart Atlas. The Smart Atlas, it's, I mean, this was the card that we designed with Federica, and actually is available also as a PDF. For who is interested, we can also, I mean, print it. It was planned to be printed, but actually after the start of the pandemic, everything was stuck. So we had no possibility to meet and to use all the physical material we have also printed and prepared. And so this was a very better for us. Anyway, the Smart Atlas, you can have, you can click on this link here. Maybe Rainer, you can put it in the chat to make easy the attendance, the visit of the participants today. Here, what is the Smart Atlas? Actually, the Smart Atlas is an open repository of different items to be used as an inspiration or as a self-training tool to increase personal knowledge, to increase shared knowledge and knowledge sharing, because actually you can both, I mean, there are two ways of usage, because you can use this database or open repository, both as a visitor and as a contributor, because you can add different items, different, I mean, entries that are have been categorized in 8 different categories, I mean, taking into account MOOCs, training center, EU project results, research centers, acceleration programs, crowdsources and compounding, and startups. Actually, there are, I mean, you can see here, I think it's a rather recent image of the map today, of last week, I think. We have added a couple in these last 2 days. there is still the possibility. I mean, it's open. I mean, if you would like to include, actually to add new entries in the map, you can just there is a I don't know if you can find it, because in the home page of the startup library, sorry, the Smart Atlas, there is the entry also as a contributor or as visitor. So you can enter, and you have just to add the content and also add I mean, some information. And it's very easy to be completed. Also the form that then is the entry reaches us as ASKFOOD Secretariat, and we just edit it and we add it in the map. This virtual tool, the Smart Atlas, actually is addressed that there are no main target groups, because it can be used by students, researchers, teachers, training providers. I mean, you can have a look really and find interesting opportunities, but obviously we would have been adding more items in the map. So if you have any, we will continue to work in this direction. Also beyond the end of the project, because in any case, this Smart Atlas will be included and linked to the ASKFOOD Observatory. Is there any question about this virtual tool? No? Okay, you can also write in the chat if there is any particular question to be addressed. But actually this has been already variously presented in the past. The second one is the Forecast Aggregator. The current aggregator is somehow a collection of scenarios and trends of the 8 power-breaking forces that will shape the competitive scenario of the food-related sectors. Actually, we I try to see, sorry. I try to see if I can remove this heading here. Anyway, actually, these the scenarios were described by the Tempest model that actually includes 8 different environments or disciplines, let's say, technology, economics, market habits, policy and regulator framework, environment, science and transformative industry, and social dynamics. Actually, we are revising it. There are 2 that needed to be completed. I mean, they've been completed, but the web designer is, I mean, fully booked in this last month for other activities, and actually it could not complete the feeding of the Forecast Aggregator. I thought that was possible. It is not possible. And actually this is rather interesting opportunity, interesting tool, because actually for each of the sorry, this animation, Rainer, sorry, how can I remove this heading on the top?
Which heading?
I see an heading, a black heading. I mean, it's a black with the description. There is a menu.
Oh, this one, okay. I'm not sure if you can remove it. You can just check when you say it on the right hand side. There it says the different views. Maybe there's a different view. You see it differently.
Okay, let's see. Okay, I move it in the back, in the bottom. Sorry. So actually, for each of the items, I mean, of the different scenarios, the technology, economic, and so on, there is a brief description. There are trends. The trends have been collected based on documents which are public. And for each of these trend, within this trend, also you can see here, and actually now we are including more of these trends in order to have also an updated version of the forecast aggregator that again will be linked to the ASKFOOD Observatory unless other opportunities will be found. And then what is more relevant to this forecast aggregator is also the identification of signals, which are the documents, and within each of these signal we identify the different the new professions that are that will be I mean launched, or maybe they are already active somewhere. So we identify the 3D printing specialist, the biorefinery expert, the drone driver. There are different new, and actually there are new. I found that I would like to update different pages, and also the skills that the different scenarios are offering. Why and what are the usage of this virtual tool? Actually, we had a very nice experience in Vienna, where we organized a workshop with the companies. And actually, I use it also in my classes to train my students against the scenarios in the food sectors. Yesterday was rather interesting to observe. There was an observation from one of the tutors after the reverse incubator presentation that said that the students needed to have a more clear understanding of the scenarios in which the innovation needs to occur. And actually this kind of tool is actually targeted to this aim. So it's a tool that can be used by trainers, teachers, but also by students, but also by other stakeholders that could be interested to understand which are the main scenarios, the trends, and also in terms also of opportunities to develop new activities or training activities and so on. Do you have any question? If not, I hope that you are still on the back, because I don't hear any comment. So
Marco wrote no thank you.
Nothing much. Thank you.
We are live and no questions.
Okay, thank you. But you know already this kind of, because I mean, this is a presentation that is aimed to present it also to the people that is with us just for the first time. Interactive training app identifier is another interesting tool. In my opinion, this is something like a beta version, but actually is a very interesting virtual tool. It's a virtual tool that includes a series of resources that are rather interesting to provide self-assessment tools, self-assessment tools to see and to avoid mismatch in the skills, in the competencies that are required for the career path of different categories of workers, let's say. But also is important also to understand and to support personal learning and career paths. Actually, it's we have been working, because it's very difficult to work in many sectors, but actually this tool would like to be different in respect to the others, in the sense that we identify the career path in the food industry, in the food service, in research, focusing our attention in particular on the career path that start from the higher education. So we don't care about VET, vocational education training, or professional careers. We took as reference also the ESCO professions, and actually for each of the profession and the career path, we identify the different professions according to the ESCO database. Actually, the tool is made of a series of sub-pages. In action is the description of how it works and which is the methodology behind that is described here. Then there are a series of supporting tools and the career maps. And the career maps is for sure rather interesting for the students, because actually you can see the different, what is possible to find. For each career map, there is the, oops, sorry, the animation is not correct, but this is the map. You cannot see anything because I'm trying to, I mean, this is the career path that we design. Actually, we double check with some of the partners, and we developed this map here. There is the skill framework. I mean, for the different paths, this is the food manufacturing ones. We identify a series of skills. We identify for each of them, of these different career paths within, in this case, the food manufacturing, the ESCO professions, which are described. We didn't want to replicate the skills of the different professions or roles, because actually ESCO has done already them. So actually we just made the link to the ESCO professions and profiles. And then we added a last session with the new skills and the future professions. And then also within the career path, you can see here that there are some arrows and then some connections arrows that allow you to identify some transversal progressions, or I mean linear vertical progressions, where obviously one would like to specialize in a specific environment or skill and competence. There are some supporting tools that have been also designed and identified with the help of Germana. And there are tools which you can use to identify the skills needed, but also the training needs. And they can be used both by the students, the graduate, or the company, for instance, to identify very well which are the training that they need to implement in the company, or for graduates or learners or employees and so on. Then there are different others related to also the aspects related to the management and so on. Do you have any question?
No.
No. Okay, thank you. Just one thing is this is the sole, I mean, the first virtual tool that includes also the career path for food scientists or researchers. We try obviously to generalize it because actually every country has a different rules. But anyway, there are interesting. This was really a challenge we managed to deal with. The DBTA, the digital business and training ecosystem. This is the ones that we would like really to have it already in place, but actually it was not possible due to a series of issues we had to deal with. This is mainly addressed to, to favor the training and the career development, but also to favor the innovation within companies or businesses, including a series of training tools and a toolkit in particular that can be interesting for the implementation of the knowledge within the company. This tool, I would like now to stop here. Maybe nuova condivisione. Let's see if I can manage. It's the first time I'm using Zoom with a new this is the platform, the digital business and training ecosystem platform that currently is just under revision for some things, and we will send you the invitation also to register because it's open to different actors in the food system. This is the home page. This is actually is a dashboard, is widgeted page. So I mean, you can move this. I mean, I'm not logged in, but you can move this box here in another place. And when you are logged in, no, I'm logged in. I don't know if I'm not really logged in. No, I needed to log in. Okay, so when I'm logged in, then I'm allowed to do a lot of stuff. Oh goodness, they made me administrator, but I don't know how to use this. Oh no. Okay, so actually you can see that I can move this in another place. I mean, when you are logged in, you can modify it according to your needs. DBTA in action explain you for who is addressed the platform. So actually we would like to have it on place in particular to develop activities with the clusters, the hubs, the organization, trying to support them to promote the innovation in the companies. Our aim was not for sure the large clusters, but the small cluster, the sector specific cluster, or small companies and enterprises clusters that we know exist in any place in Europe, and actually they need specific training and towards innovation. You can register. I mean, how to use. There is also an explanation here. Then how to join, you have the dedicated page to register, and then you go to the registration. The knowledge cluster describes the members. Actually, as obviously there are just me and a few other people that try and tested the system, you cannot see anything. There is the business and ideas exchange. Actually, here you can add, there are different opportunities for the members of the platform. And then you have also the talent marketplace, which is addressed to the young, to the students, to the talents of the reverse incubators per se. And actually is the opportunity where you can actually find, if you are interested to offer you in the market, or as we have been discussing also in my department, in my study program, sometimes we receive the invitation as a teachers to have graduates for specific jobs. It can be used actually as a platform to exchange this information. So we will invite for sure these companies to join the platform, and the same, we will invite our students to join the talent marketplace. There is also, the knowledge management tool is another part that includes the description of how it works. The toolkit in this case is a training, is a training to support the companies to share the knowledge and to make the knowledge active in the company. And to favor the creation of innovative solutions within the company. And this is made by a toolkit, which is made of 6 building blocks, and you can have a look to them. The approach of this toolkit is based on a goal-in methodology, where you have to identify the goal, observe and orient the stage, leverage the people, the learners, experiment and analyze the effects for the next actions. So somehow is a tool to favor the exchange of knowledge and the acquirement and the development of new knowledge within a company, but to make not just as new knowledge, but make this knowledge in practice within the company. Training, there is also a part dedicated to training. Actually, here is just a test, but actually here there will be one part dedicated to a series of training materials that will support the DBTA. Obviously, there are many aspects that needed to be revised, but this is the main aim. And as I was mentioning, the idea of also implementing this virtual tool is based also on the training needs that the companies indicated us during the questionnaire, by responding to the questionnaire that we have developed 2 months ago. And actually, at the end of this presentation, Rainer will present the main results of that. Any question?
No.
No. Okay, so I go back to my presentation.
Sorry,
No.
Paola, this is Katrina.
Yeah.
I would like to ask one thing. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
This DBTA at the moment, maybe I did not get it at the beginning, but it is not accessible through the AskFood homepage. Did I get it right?
Not yet, but tomorrow, okay. Hopefully maximum in a couple of days, but tomorrow I would like to have it online.
Okay, Okay.
Because we forced the web designer to commit a little bit in order to make it actually working. Because the person, and we would like to invite all, the members of the project to join, to register and to test the system.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
The others are all accessible already by clicking from the home page. They are all accessible. So now I share again my screen, my presentation. Here we are. I hope that in the meantime you are answering to the questionnaire, looking at the different you can see that actually this screenshot was taken at the end of this morning, and actually the web designer is working. So actually there is a different home page. So we really hope to finalize all the details we need. So actually the DBTA would like actually to be a digital business ecosystem, because there is also the space for networking within this environment, a training ecosystem in order to highlight needs of training for companies, but also a cluster to share knowledge. The other tool we set, and this is for this we are very proud. We managed to reach a good end for this outcome is the observatory. The observatory is actually a new environment, let's say a framework, aimed to, Rainer, if you would like to add the text, the link in the chat, to connect experts and representatives from different stakeholders to boost innovative higher education and training, and to upskill the workforce, to monitor knowledge and skills and competencies and needs for the future professionals based on trends and scenarios. This means obviously the Forecast Aggregator, and for this I was saying that this will be linked to the Forecast Aggregator, to collect innovation initiative in training methodologies. And this is rather interesting and important, because also we tested during the project lifetime the gamification with a very good participation of teachers interested to learn new methodologies, because based on what we survey at the beginning of the project, actually very few is done in the food sector. So we are rather traditional in the methodologies, while technology and new pedagogics have been implemented to support also the education of the future generation of food professionals. So we needed to work in this direction. And obviously the aim is also to have this networking environment to promote new projects on education and training. There are, there are two components of the observatory: the community of practice, so all the network of the people, all the members is open, so you can already start registering. The ASKFOOD project, the consortium partners of the ASKFOOD projects will be considered based on their agreement to be part or indicated as funding members. And there is a virtual platform you can have a look at. Actually, there is a toolkit in which there will be some news or contents items that will be also linked to the social media, LinkedIn in particular, to favor the discussion on specific topics. There is the link to the, there is the link to the virtual tools, in particular the Forecast Aggregator and the Smart Atlas. There will be the events. There is the submenu related to events, because the ASKFOOD Observatory will not organize per se events, but can collect and or promote the organization of. Because actually at the moment, I mean, we have no budget, we have no support from this. There are, what is relevant is to this observatory is that we agreed with the ASKFOOD Association to exploit it as a special interest group of the ASKFOOD Association per se. And this means that, sorry, I go back here, I thought that to have added it. So this means that we will have at least the support for the platform. The University of Teramo will continue to support the observatory at least until the end of the year, with also some staff, in particular with Federica, Rainer, and Cecilia, as long as they remain with us. And then we will see how to deal with. But actually, I mean, we will start for sure developing activities. Tomorrow there will be during the last meeting of the project a discussion about the management board and the identification of some stakeholders, actors to be included in the scientific board. It's possible to register and enroll and register to the observatory as individual or as institution or company or whatever you are. I mean, this is I mean, open. You don't need, even if we will register, I mean, we will be supported by the ASKFOOD Association. It will work as open and independent networking environment. I mean, there are no restrictions because the special interest groups in ESECI are open. So you don't need to be a member of the ASKFOOD Association. Gerard, would you like to add something else?
No, I think it's complete.
Okay. If there are questions, then you can address to me and I mean to any of us, and we can discuss. Last activity or outcome or virtual tour actually is difficult to say is a virtual tool, but is something, is a main product, in my opinion, that has been implemented during the lifetime of the project, and we piloted as an innovative methodological approach that try to transform ideas based on challenges launched by real needs by the companies into new businesses. And actually it combines innovation and training. And actually I have to say that yesterday we had a very, very nice example of what this means. Because we ended the second edition of the reverse incubator at the University of Teramo, but actually in Italy, because this second edition was developed in collaboration with the Federalimentare. The reverse incubator includes the different actors, the universities that provide the talent teams and the mentors, and the companies on the other side, which are providing and indicating which are the innovation needs or opportunities. They launch some ideas. And the talent teams work with the companies. There is also a mentor identified by the companies. And actually, there is a matching of the talent team with the company, the challenges. They work in a dedicated innovation lab, while at the same time they are trained for entrepreneurial skills and competencies. And there is the final presentation and the debriefing of the interaction between the companies, academia, and talent teams. What I noticed yesterday is that there is a good feeling at the end of the a good interaction between the students and the company at the end of this experience. And actually, I saw students that at the beginning were scared, were reluctant, they were shy, and at the end, after 2 months, they worked hard for 2 months. And at the end, they managed to have a very, very interesting ideas. I know that Julian was with us also at the end yesterday, but also there was Germana, but actually she is not with us, and also Benjamin. Don't know if Benjamin is still with us. So if you would like to comment, I'll be very pleased.
Yes, it was very nice yesterday. Oh, I think I cut off Julian, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just one at a time.
Very interesting ideas from the students, and I really hope that some of the products will make it to the market sometimes, because I was really interested, for example, in the pasta snacks and all these side stream or waste stream products they had from the
yeah, just to mention, obviously behind there are a series of documents behind this process. The companies already told me that they are interested to continue to collaborate with these students, and one talent team is interested to go ahead with their idea. The B2B in a particular team, the team that was providing the idea of B2B for the wine, for the wine, to open the market at international level of the wine, Abruzzo wine. Actually, they would like to go further. And for this, I will talk with Germana to see if there is any way to bring them into an accelerator process or incubator process to launch their startup. So you can see people that didn't at the beginning think about this, then at the end there was an open up, of opportunities for them, and this is absolutely interesting in terms of education and training. This experience has been developed as a pilot in Italy between 2019 and 2020. Just we closed it before the COVID-19. Then in 2020, that was the experience from Wageningen and Croatia. And in the 2021, actually, we had again Netherlands, the Wageningen, and then Italy with the University of Teramo. What we will do for sure, let's see which is now the discussion with the chair of the master degree, is to see if we can embed it as already done in the master degree in food science and technology, but also open it to the bachelor students and the PhD students as experience, as a professional and entrepreneurial experience of their study program. So this is something that is rather interesting. And then we found the companies that were really interested of the collaboration interaction with the students. So be univoc. I mean, there is a common interest of the participants. So this is just a brief description. I mean, it boosts innovative ideas, positive evaluation from the participants. I think that is all from my side. I would like to thank all the partners actually that contributed in a different way, different extent to the development of the virtual tools and all the activities. We try and we would like to sustain and support and exploit all of them. And at the moment, University of Teramo, the Executive Food Association, but maybe future projects will be for sure an opportunity also to widen the usage of and widening also or implement them in order to have actually the best from each of these virtual tools. Actually, by this project, we really would like to develop a responsible research, innovation, and education in the food and food-related sector. So we really hope to have contributed somehow to this main task. That's all from my side, and obviously we are open to questions, and obviously I invite you to fill in the questionnaire. That maybe for who has not, Rainer, could you type again the link to the questionnaire?
Yes, sure. It's the very first link in the chat, but I can put it again.
Yeah, but maybe some people. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Paula, would it be possible to have the questionnaire afterwards?
Yes.
When somebody is visiting the site,
Okay, we
as
can
a pop-up, as a pop-up, so we keep accumulating information from people.
We can, because actually from now onwards, I mean, we will continue to, I mean, disseminate this material. So, but we have to, I think, Federica, help me, and also, I don't know if Cecilia is with us. Anyway, we have to split it in different.
Yeah, if we are to have it as a pop-up, all the tools are different websites, and some are developed by different people. So I think this is a difficult task, but we can find a way around it. I'm sure.
Yeah. And then for sure, I mean, we will leave it open as a full, I mean, for us, I mean, at least for, I mean, we would like to collect, and you are responsible also for this, as many as possible answer and responses from the partners, especially from the partners that are not here present, and but also from other people. We will ask who is not here also to send the recording, the presentation, and the questionnaire to be filled in. We needed to have the answer from all the partners.
But maybe it's better to have some time to fill in the questionnaires, because now on the spot, it's better to check again the tools and then to send our responses. If we have 1 or 2 days, it will be perfect.
Yes, take your time. Actually, we will give some time for you also to visit. So maybe also if we can open and launch the BTA tomorrow, it will be also another opportunity for you to visit and see how we can I mean, better get the feedback from each of you.
Usually it's for online pop-ups, you probably had seen it from sites you are visiting. It's usually 2 to 3 questions. There are one important for the web people is the functionality. The second is a general opinion about the site, and then having a space for a comment. You cannot have a very extensive like the one that we have now for us, because that probably will people will avoid doing it. But with these 3, usually you get a good feedback on what is going on, and they can give you their opinion. Of course, you give them the opportunity, instead of emailing you on the spot, writing a couple of lines.
Yeah, the question is that now we need to get the answers related to the questions we set, because this is what EAC asks us. So this questionnaire is addressed to us, to our partners, to our colleagues, to our friends, to which we can also send the links and all the information to get their feedbacks. And then we will try to set the pop-up, but just for the visitors afterwards. At least for, not for all, but for the Forecast Aggregator and for the Smart Atlas, I mean, this can be interesting. For the Observatory, a little bit less. The reverse incubator, no, because you have to be in. So anyway. Is there any other observation? I see some people like Daniel Fenrich, Maria Aspi, that I don't know from which institution they are coming from.
Yeah, I'm from the University of Hohenheim, colleague from Benjamin Biesdorf.
Okay, thank you, Daniel.
Yes, so I'm also involved in the FEAST project, which is quite familiar, and I thought it's quite interesting to see the outcomes from ASKFOOD, and I'm really exciting. It's great what you've done there.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Actually, I'm also in touch with Professor Berruto, and actually I will also contact him to invite him to have a look at the virtual tools. Yes.
Great. Yeah, I'm just browsing through all the virtual tools, which are quite a lot, but they look great. Yes.
Thank you very much, Daniel. I see also Sophia.
I'm from the Federation of Hellenic Food Industries. I would, as Fotini mentioned, we would like to have some more time to go through the tools tomorrow and give you our feedback. But the job done is really amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. We will, obviously we don't have your email, but we will send all the information to our reference person. Yes, so Fotini.
I have sent the emails to Rainer from my colleagues, from Sophia and Christina, so they will receive the question. Don't worry about it. We have already contacted Rainer.
Perfect. And thank you very much. So we will send all the information also to you. So any other comment? Or suggestion? If not, maybe Rainer, because in the second part, actually, we would like to address also and present the results, because just to anticipate you, tomorrow we have the final meeting. And we don't have so much time to discuss and present results. So the idea of the meeting of tomorrow is to be more practical on the documents and the activities that need to be finalized by the submission of the report to the European Commission. And this is rather important because I don't want to be working all July and all August. And so your help will be helpful. Anyway, I stop here. Rainer, if you would like just to briefly summarize the answers, because actually the outcome of this questionnaire is relevant to support the DBTA. So the idea of having the outcomes from, the answers from the questionnaire will feed also the DBTA. And we will actually use this to discuss with the cluster and the companies that would like to be on board with us.
Well, I will leave the recording on because I can split the video into two. Because honestly, now when I was listening to your presentation, I thought that when we then present to the clusters, really, I would do it the other way around. I would start actually with the presenting of the outputs, which I'm giving you now, and then actually showing how actually the tools can contribute to that or support this, because then people have something very concrete in mind. Because I guess also now when somebody sees the tool for the first time and you don't have anything concrete in mind, then it's a bit difficult. But when we start with the outcomes of the survey, which is obviously representative for the input of those, I think 44 companies, still people have something in mind and say like, okay, now I can take this tool from AskFood and use it exactly for this purpose.
Perfect.
So I would just briefly give you the presentation. You will all have the deliverable anyways, where all the information is in there. But let me give you the presentation. Here we go. Good. So basically, that is the summary of this survey report, which we did in spring this year, which we did as a kind of like follow-up, kind of post-COVID. I know it's not post-COVID. For none of us, it's post-COVID. It might not be post-COVID for another year, but just to see a little bit the differences, how it changed, how demand changed, especially for trainings compared to the first survey we did, because the first survey was already a while ago. So we thought we'd do the second one. And we had 43 participants from 11 countries, and we had a mix of companies, of multiplier organizations, and of cluster organizations. So the view we got should be, well, in terms of this, in the frame of these 43 organizations, should be objective enough. So it's not just cluster organizations we interviewed, and it was not just companies which we interviewed, but it was a mix. And we also tried to address the questions a little bit more towards the different organizations. When I go then through the results, I think when we repeat this questionnaire, then maybe in the future, we should slightly adapt some of those questions, because what we saw is that more or less the different questions, the different ways we worded it, they supported the answers of the previous questions. So it's good that we did it this way for this time. I think in the future, maybe we can either make the questionnaire shorter, or the information we are requesting, or we're asking it in a slightly different way. Looking at the cluster multiplier organizations, 74% of those organizations, they actually do provide trainings. Only 26 do not organize trainings, but out of these 26, still 10% would be very interested to actually organize trainings themselves. So when we look at that, the training demands to provide training, that's quite huge already, because that would be, so in this case, 85% that would like to already do organized trainings. So really a huge demand for providing trainings for those cluster organizations. When we look at the companies, here you just see the different sectors they come from, so quite diverse. It was obviously animal feed, farmer cooperatives. We had also suppliers of raw materials, traders, processors, some which just answered that they are consulting organizations, some are research organizations. So quite a big frame, quite a big variety of different organizations. Also here, I think that in the future, when we're asking, we should maybe have it a bit more focused on different groups so that we get a bit more, how to say, like more representative answers. Because when you see afterwards the answers, some look very specific, so very, very specific for a certain sector, which is only interesting, obviously, for one of the sectors. However, here again, when we look at the training, and that was actually why we were addressing those companies, was when we asked about if they provide training to the workforce, we see that 83% of the organizations do provide those trainings. And out of those who do not provide it, actually also 11% are interested to provide training to the workforces. So quite comparable to what the clusters are either already organizing or interested to organize. Same goes actually with those organizations that would receive this training. So huge demand, huge interest, and already a lot of organizations that are providing trainings to their workforce. What we tried to collect here was we tried to collect the trends regarding training, and especially here any information, any issues that is related and relevant for the trainings or for the innovation part. And in addition, we also tried to identify potential drivers, the key objectives, the key action plans, and the roadmaps if they are there. And one point which was really important for us here is specifically for this question at this time was at the time if the organizations could already see any changes in regards to training and innovation that was triggered by the COVID-19 crisis. When we look at the, and we try to categorize it a little bit, when we look at the trends, now we're here with the trends, especially for the sector specific, here we see a picture which, at least to me, and I guess to most of you, looks quite familiar. So this is trends which we have identified also in previous projects. Here, when we look clearly at the trends, I don't see too many new trends. I mean, we see all this hygiene and traceability. We see a lot of focus on the regional foods. I guess this was also part because a lot of focus was on from Italy as well. Packaging, food security. We do here already see in these answers, when you look here, you see already some answers that were in these general trends, which already referred to issues caused by COVID-19. So any disruption that was in there. But other than that, most of those do look quite familiar to me. So there was nothing too innovative and too surprising in the trends for specifically for the agri-food trend, for the agri-food sector, sorry. It was, for me, a little bit more interesting when we looked, obviously, at the non-sector specific trends and competences. That was a lot already here confirmed, obviously, for Industry 4.0, digitalization, all this digital transformation. So this also in all the other answers, that was quite highly ranked. So this is something that was there already before COVID, but you can afterwards see it also that COVID actually obviously supported this trend in addition. And anything that is related to it, such as also the technological innovation, internationalization, but then also renewable energies, eco-design, Green Deal. A lot of things already mentioned here, which was triggered by COVID-19, the remote working, anything related to the changes in the logistics, and a lot of organizations mentioned the new business models. And it's interesting when you compare these to the general trends, for example, from Horizon Europe or general European agendas, because that fits perfectly to those European agendas in terms of digitization and in terms of those green deals, eco design, renewable energies. So a lot of those organizations actually are working already, or at least answered in the direction what will be supported in the next couple of years anyways, also on the political level. Here, the trends, there were just a few softer transversal skills mentioned. This was the leadership training and some trends, some training regarding empathy, resilient training, productivity, mental health here, and home office obviously already triggered by COVID-19. When we then specifically asked for the trends for trainings itself, then obviously we got additional information to those already mentioned and listed trends. There was a lot mentioned for the new business models, business model innovation, innovation in terms of different financing models, mergers and acquisition, open innovation, lean manufacturing, and already I mentioned the pandemic issues. Strong points for digitization here, more specific, obviously, any digitization also in agriculture, AI solution, the data analytics, but already here, obviously, with the related skills, namely the digital competences, but also with the kind of approaches, how we're going to teach the e-learning and the hybrid training, the blended learning approach. In the food sector, again, not too many surprises here. Trainings related to food safety, food labeling, packaging. I mean, you can read it yourself. For me personally, I mean, I'm not directly from the food sector, but there was not too much surprise in here when we look at the food sector specific topics for trainings. Same goes for the non-sector specific aspects. There was a lot with this integrated management system, health, safety, quality, and environment. Some things were interesting for me. I marked it here in bold. This was language barrier and cultural barriers, which was surprising to me to come up here. That could be one interesting point to follow up with. One point which I assume I see it in Austria, and it seems to be also interesting for the other countries, is the generation change and anything related to that. Very interesting topic, obviously. Was quite interesting. The last couple of days I spent at the farm. I was there for holidays, but I got the chance also to talk to the farmers there, and they have exactly the same issue here in Austria at the farms, obviously, who is going to take over the farms. And this I hear a lot from farming organizations as we deal in some of the startups I'm dealing with digital solutions for the farms. And this is a big thing and a big trigger point for younger generations to actually continue working with the farms of their parents, because it's not sexy enough, it's not interesting enough. But when we manage to get all this digitization in there, then it becomes more interesting also for the younger generation. The younger generation doesn't want to do this standard farm work, but there is a lot of solutions on the market. But obviously for that, it's not that they can just buy it, but they would need the related trainings for it as well. It's not just buying the system, but they would need the related skills, obviously. He also mentioned, obviously, the personal and the soft skills, which is a lot to do with the confidence and empathy, communication, leadership, entrepreneurial skills. And that could be very interesting, obviously, if we give this presentation, and afterwards we give the presentation of the reverse incubator, for example, perfectly supports those demand for entrepreneurship training. When we then asked a similar question, but now the trends not for training, but for the innovation, then we get, again, comparable information. Next time we probably should ask those questions a little bit more concrete, but at least this information we're getting here is supporting, obviously, what people were mentioning before, and that is the trends here for innovation is to have these management systems implemented, to have these new business models, and also this business modeling for innovation and sustainability. When it comes to the technology and digitization, obviously the innovation trends here is anything related not only to ICT, but also to the ICT related regulations. That are also quite important, because that obviously goes beyond what was mentioned before. Here now, then people were mentioning very specific issues such as this Earth observation, geodata integration. That is very interesting information, obviously for the supply chain, but obviously also for digitization of agricultural processes. Again, when we looked at the food sector specific topics, not too many news, natural and functional ingredients, the reuse of food in new products. I mean, that was also related to the project, Paula, which your students had for the reverse incubator. So this is also a perfect example how this was actually then dealt with in one of our approaches, one of our tools, so to say. So that would be quite nice to show those trends, but that's also how we dealt with it directly in the ASKFOOD project, or then obviously in the follow-up program. New consumption styles they mentioned in here. You can go for that. So a lot of things that are quite interesting, quite clear, but which we can also show that we have actually addressed it in the ASKFOOD project as well. For the non-sector specific ones, was on the organizational structure and new work in general. Then there was a lot on the innovation. Then there was something which was interesting for me, that was for some, I don't know from whom it came, this access to the EU programs which is obviously quite interesting, especially because what I was mentioning before, that a lot of those trends that were mentioned perfectly fit actually to the policies that are on at the moment in implementation for the new Erasmus program, but also for the Horizon program. So a lot of interesting ways of combining this, but also addressing a new demand for new training and innovation in terms of teaching people of how to apply for those programs and then making use of those programs, obviously. Collaborations with startups, great for us because that's what we were trying to access anyway, and open innovation. Then we worded the question slightly different, and we're trying to address or ask for key objectives, key action plans, and roadmaps. Again, it was getting more deeper information on things that were mentioned before already, especially in relation to the business models for the companies of the future. That was those open platforms for technology transfer and expertise certification. Then also systems for non-ICT technology transfer, sustainability-oriented innovation, and these new methodological frameworks to address measuring the societal impact of innovation. Then some very food sector specific, as far as I remember, this came either directly from Food Drink Europe or from some other of those players, so very specific agendas and roadmaps and approaches from the food sector. Also when it comes to bridging the gaps between the food industry and the research. I mean, something that we were anyway trying to achieve in AskFood. So some of those topics which we actually already addressed. So it could be interesting toward those demand or toward those roadmaps, and then show how we were trying to address it in AskFood and how we could address it also in the future with, for example, with the Observatory. With the non-sector specifics, a lot of things to upskilling and reskilling, e-learning, supporting our case, obviously, improvement of their environmental impact, training also of the skills of the younger people. This is also quite interesting. This was mentioned a couple of times. This was here also on focus on engagement of the junior researchers. So quite interesting, and obviously also to Industry 4.0. One point which was interesting for me, which is here at just the last line, was that several of those answers showed that there had not yet established objectives and related roadmaps, which might be that this is because things changed due to COVID-19. And then obviously this was too early to ask for changed objectives or for changed roadmaps. But I think that this is something that we should ask in the near future again, because then it would be interesting to see what roadmaps are now there in place and what roadmaps are formulated and we could address, because this is simply probably too new to have already established roadmaps for especially post-COVID. Here now we see that a lot of organizations actually saw changes due to COVID in terms of related action plans, in terms of training demand. You see out of those answers, still a couple didn't see any changes, but when you see answering with moderate change, changed a lot or changed completely, you see actually the majority was on that side. And obviously it depends very much on the industry, but I think the food industry was strongly influenced by that. And again, here, when we look at those 4 main points, business related, a lot was obviously focusing on the recovering of the business and then making business for the future more resilient, not only to the current situation, but also to external factors, which could be very interesting to see which kind of trainings, which kind of agendas are created in these terms. And also the adapting of the business models to the changing environment in general during and after COVID. So people are obviously thinking for the future, and here a lot towards the flexibility. And this could be a really interesting topic to see how this should be implemented, because obviously not every single company can show as much flexibility to address a future big crisis. But the next big crisis, we all know it will be obviously the climate change, and that could be a really interesting topic to see how companies can be more flexible towards this big next issue that is on the horizon and actually already arrived. When it came to digitization, we saw that the organization confirmed even stronger focus, obviously, for the digital transformation, because that at least can buffer some of the issues that are related with big major crises. One thing that was specifically mentioned in here was obviously online marketing, so move to all sorts of online marketing activities to address issues related to the current crisis. Food sector specific, one topic that was mentioned was food safety in times of pandemics. Obviously, all sorts of impacts of COVID-19 on any sort of food production. Obviously, for this one, we would need more details to be able to provide also related trainings for it. One aspect that was also mentioned was this information on COVID regulations and the impact on the food production or on the whole company. And when we looked at the trainings, there was a lot more practical training demanded, obviously, remote trainings, obviously, I mean, that's what we did, and less on-site training. So really moving a lot on this to what we see anyways on the daily basis now when we look at the trainings, moving a lot of this to remote training, moving a lot to the digital solutions. And I think when we're doing this presentation, then obviously afterwards and look at our tools, what we're having, then we can see and already show where we are specifically addressing those needs and those trends, and where we are actually also already addressing the changes that were there due to COVID-19. So in the future, and I think when we present this, I think I would start with this presentation, maybe tune this presentation still a little bit, maybe give a little bit of time afterwards to ask for specific input now on this basis from the participants, but then directly move to a selected set of our ASKFOOD tools to show how specifically we can address that with our tools also in the frame of the observatory. And this will be also one part which we will discuss tomorrow of how actually to include those tools which we have now, which Paula was presenting in the observatory, and how to make best use of that in the observatory. Because obviously the project is over by tomorrow, but it continues at least in the observatory. And then I think it would be very interesting to show this in a very practical way to address these demands which we see here and on these examples of this demand which we have collected. Are there any specific questions now on this?
Thank you, Rainer. No specific questions.
All right, wonderful.
Actually, they were rather interesting. I mean, in general, also Jonas highlighted it for the aspects related to the skills that are missing.
Yeah.
What I notice is, as a food technologist, obviously, is that no aspects related to technologies, for instance. So there are very general aspects, but not really connected to something that can help to have, I mean, more the possibility to implement something which is either under development, or I mean, if I'm thinking about, I don't know, high pressure treatments or other technologies that can for sure implement and favor the sustainability of the food sectors in the production. They look, I mean, lost, but maybe obviously we didn't address these topics to the people that is more committed on this task.
Yeah. When all of you look in the report itself, obviously there are a few more details in there which I excluded now because they were very specific, and obviously, and that's not necessarily representative.
No, well, we read the
yes.
answers.
So I think that in the future when we ask, we might do it more targeted towards a specific area. I don't know, in Italy, I mean, we have a lot of sectors where we could address it, the same in Austria. But then when we focus on a certain sector, then we probably get also more very specific input. But I think it's already a nice overview.
Yeah.
Then I would stop at least the recording here now.
Yes, thank you.